Well, next up on stage, we'll have a little panel discussion on something that's kind of, in a way, it resembles what we just heard about, just it's reality made virtual or virtuality made real. Oh, we do sit around the table, that's cool. I have 3 guests with me, and they are going to have what we call a kitchen talk. And a kitchen talk is what you probably experienced in during your time at university, in your shared apartments. You'd sit down around the table, want to eat your breakfast or your late night dinner, and all your roommates all of a sudden gather around the table, and you get the most interesting and philosophical talks, much better than in any university classroom. And we want to do that today, and my 3 guests will let us know what they do with virtual reality, whether this is just something we play with or we can maybe use for much bigger stuff in the future. They seem to be engaged in a pretty interesting talk already. Guys, please join me here on stage. Come up. First of them is Rick. Rick is a serial entrepreneur by now, I guess. He's based here in Hanover, did a lot of Bitcoin stuff, and I don't know if you have had the chance to visit him outside at the loft. You'll let us know what you do out there. It's pretty exciting. It makes people put up their hands in the air, and they look from the outside pretty funny, but they seem to be experiencing something quite interesting. Then over, where's number 3? Come back.
It was just here.
I'm here.
We have Ronald here. He's the co-founder and sales officer of shoutr. And you might not have seen it, but there is a huge T-Rex out there walking around. His name is Tristan,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
And you'll let us know more about why a T-Rex is running out there.
Yeah.
And then we have Cyrill. He's the founder of the GameScienceCenter. Any of you ever been to Berlin? Go there again and then visit the GameScienceCenter. It's like basically a big playground for technology for grown-ups. Welcome here on stage. I get to sit in the cozy one. Well, maybe we'll start out by you guys. Well, you decide the order. Tell us why you actually are here at the CeBIT and out there at the loft. Ronald, you start. And don't look that serious, because it's a kitchen talk. You're supposed to be half-drunk student or something.
Well, yeah, we are here because, well, 2 years ago we won the CeBIT Innovation Award. And this year we show a lot of augmented reality here on the CeBIT. For example, outside you can see the T-Rex from the Museum of Natural History. That's actually in Berlin. It's the biggest and only original T-Rex skeleton in Europe. And we worked together with the museum, and we invented the shoutr box system. The shoutr box system is able to stream high-volume data to smart devices without internet. And it's a plug-and-play system that gives the visitors information to the exhibition, not only in the Museum for Natural History, also in other museums. And yeah, we invented an offline augmented reality stream, also offline virtual reality stream. And yeah, you can test it outside with your own phone, and you can see the big dinosaur streamed to your own device, all without internet.
That's pretty exciting. Cyrill, why are you here?
I'm here to present one of our exhibits from the GameScienceCenter Berlin, the Augmented Reality Sandbox, as well in the loft area. It's a tool to teach children in early kindergarten years already how to read topological maps. And everything I change within our box is reflected correctly and read by the system, and the correct height lines and height maps are projected on top of the new sand construction. So, and yeah, we brought one of the 25 exhibits we have, we are showing in Berlin here to give a taste how the future of interaction will look like, how the future of a sandbox could be.
Rick, you make people put up their hands in the air and look like dancers. How do you do that?
Yeah, we're here with a very new company. It's only 3 weeks old. It's called Vertex Labs, and we started out the project just to try to play a little bit with what you can do with virtual reality and augmented reality, but not in the gaming arena, but mostly enterprise and business, and to see how the future of work is going to look like with these new technologies. So we're showcasing several different demos that we built the last 3 weeks, and people can draw in the air, so it's kind of a 3D whiteboard. We were thinking about using it in some kind of collaboration setting, so people can be, for example, in Hong Kong or in London, and they can draw in 3D space and talk to each other and share some information. But also, the main part of the company is data visualization. We want to do real-time data visualization because big data is very difficult to understand, and what we want to do is to display it visually so people can start discovering certain patterns that can be later reinterpreted in algorithms, so that can be recognized more automatically.
Okay, to be honest, the reason why I invited you into my kitchen, we imagine this to be my shared apartment kitchen, I don't really get the whole virtual reality thing. I mean, people have been talking about that for 5 years now, and to me, nothing really happened. So, virtual reality, what is that? I mean, why?
Yeah, we have it already since 1.5 years to show it in our museum, and it was pretty fast clear that it will change a lot of areas. I think there's nearly no industry which won't be touched by the invention of virtual reality. So there is really for everyone something in store. So if you are a teacher, you can teach much differently because you can get your students to be interactive and look around and search for certain things. If you are in the medicine, you can use it for therapy purposes, and so on and so on, from architecture to industrial design to conference and businesses. There's nearly nothing which won't be affected and where it will have a positive impact in my eyes.
I keep hearing about what you can do with virtual reality, but what is state of the art at the moment? I mean,
Yeah.
what is happening out there?
One of the reasons why virtual reality is gaining so much momentum right now is because the technology has advanced in a way that most of the puzzle pieces that needed to have really good virtual reality are now on the market. I mean, if you look at the products that maybe 10 years ago were launched by companies like Nintendo, it was an experience that was really bad. I mean, and it was a gimmick, and you could have a little bit of fun with it, but it wasn't something that was so close to reality that it made sense to use it for a long time. And now you have the possibility through the sensors that mostly everybody has those kinds of sensors in their pockets right now, because the sensors that are in technology like mobile phones are the same sensors that you need for the basic virtual reality settings. And right now, and this year, there's a lot of companies coming out with different solutions which use much more advanced sensors and which is going to make the experience much more fluid. And through doing that, you have a solution that doesn't make people sick that much. Because that's one of the problems with virtual reality, that people, when they put on the glasses, if it has a lot of delay and it doesn't react quickly, people get sick pretty quickly, and it's kind of like it's a motion sickness, the same feeling you have when you're on a ship. And some people can take it a little bit better than others, but it's still a bit of a problem, but it's getting much, much better very fast.
How is that going to change? I mean, is that going to change reality, or is it going to enhance our reality? are we going to have a different view on like the world out there, or what is it supposed to do to us? I mean, reality is hard enough to grasp. Why put more elements into it?
Well, to put elements into real reality, then you use augmented reality, I would say. Well, virtual reality will, of course, change a lot. Now, imagine, for example, education. If you have, for example, Romans in history, and you put on glasses and headphones, and then suddenly you can walk through ancient Rome, for example. It will change the view, it will change a lot. You will have bigger experiences that you couldn't get before. And so I think it will change a lot, definitely.
What's I can also have a look at a movie about Romans. What's the difference in the experience for the human being when you go into this kind of real, unreal world?
Have you ever tried it?
I have tried
You have
it.
tried
I
it?
tried that one.
You tried Vietnam. Well, of course. Well, you have. You also have to try this. This is a virtual reality conference room. But the thing is, if you are like in a game or when there's something moving and you really feel it. For example, if you are in a virtual reality roller coaster, for example, things that are available for years, and you're sitting on a chair in your room, but you really feel like you are in this roller coaster. You really feel it in your stomach because the eyes are responsible for 80% of your senses, and also you hear it and you have to see it in the eye. And if it's really made really good, then you really feel you are inside. So the experience is nothing like watching a movie. Never. You are really inside, and when you have also the sensors, and you can also touch something. There are also technologies like where you can really feel virtual objects. That this is the experience that it has never been before in this way, and it changed a lot.
And it's totally immersive. And that's something I've noticed while working on some of the projects, that after a while your brain starts to accept this virtual reality as a reality, and it kind of ignores the defects that it still has. It ignores that it's maybe a little bit, and you can see some pixels on it, and it's completely clear. Yeah, after a while, you just get so used to it that it just feels so natural that you kind of forget that you have some glasses on. It feels more like being teletransported to another place.
Yeah.
And another very interesting part about it is it's no longer passive. If you were watching a movie about Rome, it was just towards you. You couldn't do anything. And by being inside the world, and for example, again in a school scenario, the teacher asks you to look around and check out the architecture, the vegetation, and through that, you're getting actively involved into this experience. And this allows you to save all these experiences much more than if you would just consume it passively. So that's, for example, one of the big changes I see in school. Before, it was just dark room, movie screen in the front, and everyone was watching for 2 hours. And afterwards, most of the people forget a lot about that. But if you are really within this movie, if you are deciding yourself, I'm now concentrating on this architecture, I'm looking at this plant, I'm seeing how the army of Rome developed or stuff like that, you save it differently. It goes to a different learning path inside your brain and allows you to keep it for longer because it's now an experience and not just a passive consume.
It's the same as if you have, of course, you have seen movies with where you saw the Colosseum, but if you visit Rome and you stand in front of the Colosseum, and even it's a ruin, this is it's not the same. It's you're there.
Okay, I do get there is like, for example, there is a lot of cases in education that you can use that on. Which other areas of life will be transformed?
Yeah,
I mean, obviously you can transform anything, but where does it make sense to use virtual reality?
I think communication is a very important part. It's probably the main reason why Facebook bought Oculus. And it's still not very official what they're planning to do with it, but it's kind of obvious that bringing people together is what Facebook wants to do and what is their core value. So I do see a lot of potential in using this kind of technology just to bring people together, to communicate, and to be able to be with someone without physically having to move to another place. And I think it's going to help also in having better human connections.
I mean, in a way, that sounds nice because virtual reality to me is always like you detach from reality. This sounds like you're getting much better attached to reality because you can travel long distances and not through technology and not moving at the same time, which spares a lot of time and traveling and money and pollution and whatever, right?
Yeah, you can participate. Actually, imagine the wall of Facebook right now, and imagine there are live streams of what you experience. Perhaps you have a 360-degree camera at the next party you're going, or birthday, or wedding, or whatever.
Yeah.
And everyone who's not able to come can just click in, kind of, and be with you there, look around himself, and focus on different things he would. Compared to a video where you are continuously controlling the angle of the video, you decide what's be shown. The other part is that other people can decide themselves. So I can imagine having a birthday party, put a 360 camera, and all the people who can't make it to come at least can shortly join in and kind of be there for at least a brief moment.
Well,
it's just one example.
Yeah, no, a better example, also what they are right now planning to do. Imagine you're watching a football game, and you put the cameras onto a football player, and you're not sitting in front of the screen watching the game or being in a stadium. You put the glasses on and you see what the player sees. And not only what the player sees, you can also look around and see things the player is not looking at, or like the refugee. You are on the field and seeing the game on the field. This is something that will be a total new experience for watching football, for example. And you don't have to stick to a player. You can click around and say, I want to see the goalkeeper, and I want to see this player, or whatever. This is
Okay,
awesome.
so there is cases for virtual reality in education, in communication, and for
Games.
fun stuff, right?
Games, yeah.
What else? I mean,
Yeah, there's also some psychologists that are experimenting with virtual reality for therapy for people with mental illness. So you can go into like places that are very like quiet and try to stimulate certain feelings so people can cope with certain anxieties and problems that they're actually having. So I think we're just right now scratching the surface on what you can do with this technology. Most of the hardware that is being developed is not even out there. Right now you can only buy in the market, and the Samsung Gear VR is probably the most mainstream device that you can buy right now. Most of the other most interesting devices are on pre-order at the moment and have not been delivered yet, and some of them are even in a development stage where they just send it out to developers to build applications and are not even planned, and there's not even dates when they're going to be on the market and when people can buy them. So is there something else right now on the market that...
There was just one newly announced, I think, at the GDC this week. Again, there are many more coming. I think we just seen the tip of the iceberg. There will be a lot more companies creating hardware to experience virtual reality. Yeah. And some waited a little bit longer till the first made the breakthrough or the first steps. But it's open to nearly all companies focusing on hardware and displays, or with corporations to get another headset out there. Yeah. And the goal is not to have a lot of differences. I think the worst which could happen at the moment is that there become too much exclusive content. At the moment, it should be very important to keep it broad, to give everyone, it doesn't matter which device he's using, all experiences, because otherwise we start already having 3 different devices at home just to be able to experience all experiences, and this will not be how the mass market would like to have it. They will be having just one and be excluded of all the other experiences. So that should be a very big focus in the future, in my eyes.
So what I take away from what you're just saying is, like, in a sense, we've been talking about the idea of virtual reality for a couple of years now. It's only now that the technology gets there, so we actually get to play with it to find out what kind of areas and projects and cases we want to use it in. So we need to be actually playing with it to understand what we want to use it for. I think it was last year's sentence on this stage was, we always underestimate the pace of technology, they overestimate the pace of technology. We always think it's going to be faster, but we always underestimate the impact. We never think about what impact it's going to have on us. What's going to be the big challenge of virtual reality? Like, okay, let's go 3 to 5 years ahead, and we played with it, and we found out, okay, there's stuff we can do with it. It's fun.
Well,
what's going to be the big challenge? Like, what we're going to hate it. We always do hate new technology. What's the case with virtual reality? Why are we going to hate it?
I think there it's possible that a lot of people get addicted to it. As you know, for example, if you see online games, there are people that are not leaving. They stop working. They are always online. They're always in this game. They have their second life in this game. And they don't have their first life anymore. They just live for their life. And if you think that they could be like really feel to be in this virtual world and do things they cannot do in the real world, like for example flying or having superpowers or whatever, I could imagine that a lot of people get addicted to the virtual world and refuse to leave it. I can imagine that this could happen, and I think this could be happen to more people than happens today, because it's way more easier to get inside. You don't have to learn how to control the world. Like if you start playing a computer game, you first need the controls. You have to go inside, and with the virtual reality, you just go inside and you behave like you behave in the real world. You move your arm and you move your arm in the virtual world.
Pretty intuitive,
that could be something we have.
Cyrill, what are we going to hate about it?
No, that's quite true. But on the other hand, every time such a new product comes out, for example, when the first book was released, everyone was telling, now you are no longer going out and experiences the story yourself. You just read about it, and there's always the same perspective on new technologies where you can immerse yourself or where you can really get into it. I'm not saying this is not happening. It's always, if you have a product you can consume, there are always people who overconsume. But the goal should be for, that to keep it really everyone has to control their behavior themselves. This is like everything with alcohol, with TV, there's always the same opinion about that. And I think as developers or content creators or hardware creators, we can't do a lot about that. It's all about how you grow up, how you learn to dose everything for your best health, kind of. And back to your questions, what will be interesting in the next 5 years is really to, like Ronald just said, to get it as natural to be in this virtual world. This will be the biggest challenge, to make it feel like reality feels. And there are a lot more components needed for that than currently are developed. It goes from having eye tracking within the headset to compensate fluctuation of your pupils. It goes further, having full haptic feedback, which is a long way to go to really...
So that means when I slap you, you actually feel like the burn on you.
Stuff like that. Or if you touch something that you actually have something you really think you touch it. There are methods to do that with sonar and other approaches. But since now the options have opened up, or everyone realized, hey, there is now this new world coming towards us, and currently we can just put our heads in it and have a little bit of interaction with the hands, but the goal will really be to get it fully believable like you would be in reality. So pain, everything together should be there to make it as compelling as it should be, or as it hopefully will be in the future.
You know the movie Demolition Man when they have virtual sex at the very end without
Yeah.
touching? That's what's going to happen, right?
It's,
Imagine a couple being far away from each other. Perhaps this is even something good.
well, yeah, they are already working on it right now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, well,
Yeah, the
if you
the porn
Well, it would-
industry is very
It's a lot of
was
money.
very quick to
Adapt.
jump on the trend of virtual
Yeah.
reality, and they're always the first to test new technology. So I do think that it's probably going to come very quickly.
What I think is, I mean, it's probably always with a new technology, it seems like clumsy and stupid. And people do look stupid when they have the Oculus on. How's that gonna, what's gonna be the next steps in the hardware development?
Yeah, probably miniaturization would be the next step. One of the biggest challenges is mobility and being untethered without any cables. And the biggest challenge there is battery life, I think. And we don't have any technology at the moment that is developing so quickly in the battery field. Everybody knows this when they're here at the CeBIT and halfway through the day and the phone doesn't have any battery left. And with applications like virtual reality, you need much more power for it. But I think in the long run, technology will most likely develop into something that is being. It's one of the themes in the loft. It's implants. I do think that it is going to come in the next 5 to 10 years. That such technology becomes so small and so. And so flexible that you can even have things like either contact lenses or direct implants into your body.
The problem with implants would be that once you want to upgrade, it's quite a pain, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm completely on your side. So getting it smaller, more comfortable. The same would happen to phones. Before there was such blocks, and what do we have now? They first got very small, and then they got back a little bit bigger again, just to give again this all range of interactions. And I think it's very hard to see in advance where it will go, but contact lenses or projecting on your retina directly will be a big step forward. Another thing will be to get those devices to be so tight on your head that you could even wear them while doing sports, or especially in the augmented section. If you imagine football players being able, or soccer players being able to see in training, who the trainer says, okay, pass to this one, and the other one guy will be highlighted. And getting those technologies even to be wearable while doing fully sport or full sport and stuff could be as well very, very interesting. And yeah, it's more it will aid a lot in all areas again there, especially if we no longer feel like carrying it. That's a big part of the really being in there.
And even this year, there's several devices coming out. One of them is still only for developers. It's the Microsoft HoloLens. And there's other devices like the Meta glasses or Magic Leap, which until now nobody knows how it looks like and what technology is in it. But these devices, they go a step further, go away from what virtual reality is and more into augmented reality, which is mixing the reality that you see with virtual elements. And these glasses are similar to something like an Oculus, but they're transparent, so you can see the whole world around you and project holograms and stuff into the real world, and to have more information about people, about objects, about maybe prices and things like that. So I think there's a lot of fun applications that are going to come in the future. We're going to be experimenting in a new object that we have here in Hanover, which we're going to open in June, with augmented reality applications to learn how people can do certain activities in facility management in a co-working space. For example, show them how they can bring down the trash and where they can find it and where the bag is that they need to replace without ever having any kind of training. And what we're going to experiment there is to try to have a completely decentralized company without employees, and that everybody that can come, they could put some glasses on and automatically have all the knowledge necessary to run such a space, because it's not something that is very complicated. You just need certain information to be given to you, and that kind of technology helps a lot just to give this information to new people. It's kind of going a little bit in the way, like for example, in the Matrix film, where they download the program to fly the helicopter.
Yeah.
And it would be a nice scenario to have something like that for certain activities that you don't really need to know how to do something. You just put on some glasses and you can maybe build a chair on your own, or work with certain types of machines.
To me, that actually really sounds that I don't really like the word disruption, because it's used too often, and actually we don't have as much disruption as people think. For me, the last big disruption was actually bringing the internet or bringing data and computing and the internet into mobile devices. That for me, when the internet and computers went mobile, that for me was disruption. Is that virtual reality, and then like the little sister at the moment, augmented reality, or maybe big sister, is that the next big disruption that's really going to change the way we are as a society and the way we interact with each other?
I think so, yes. All these examples we had at the moment, that are is just a little part of it. It's going really into all areas. You will have virtual driving schools without the danger of crashing your car while learning, and so on and so on. There will be plenty of applications, and since it's so present, there's not often a technology or such a peak which really is affecting the broad part. And I think TV was something, internet, mobile phones, smartphones, and we are again at the very start of another peak in my eyes, yes. And
well, I think in the future we will have several of these peaks. Of course, virtual reality, augmented reality, drones, robotics. I think there are a lot of technologies ahead that will have a big influence in our life. Imagine we are talking about drones that will deliver food or goods directly to your home in several minutes, or robots, or there's a lot coming, and I think our life in a few years will definitely change. And not only augmented and virtual reality, but there are several technologies that will have a big influence.
Well, just a quick question to the audience. Who of you has already tried an Oculus or some other hardware device to try the virtual reality thing? Like that's basically, it's the half of them. Who of you liked that experience, like especially liked it? Not just as many, but almost. Those who haven't tried yet, do you want to try? Do you actually want to try it, or do you think are you kind of afraid? To be honest, I'm kind of afraid. And Oculus made me sick, so motion sick. Those of you who haven't tried, are you afraid of it, or just are you afraid of it? No, it's probably because you didn't have the chance. Well, then go outside and try Rickson. You probably do have some questions to those three. Is anyone want to be part of our kitchen talk up here? Come up, bring your chair, bring some chair. Well, there is steps, yeah. Maybe you want to come up here. So, introduce yourself
Hi.
real quick, and then let us know your take on virtual reality.
My name is Thomas Gaussmann. I'm working for an automobile OEM. And during my work and also privately, I'm very interested in this topic. And it was pretty interesting because what you said is like, what are the use cases? So we are currently looking into business use cases where say, where can we use these technologies in the industry? And one of the things that we are seeing is something like remote support. So like you're getting up virtual glasses, especially augmented reality, you can see stuff, somebody else can support you.
Yes.
When I see things like Oculus Rift coming up, the Y from HTC, or for example, Oosterhout just produced the R7, which is an augmented reality class, something like a HoloLens. And this stuff is getting mature. And you asked how this will change society. One thing that I strongly think is the style that we are working together will change in the future. Because when we're looking at teamwork today, teamwork means that we are usually physically in one space. We have meetings. We're talking about getting down travel times. At the moment, this requires you working for the same company. You're usually working in one location. And in the future, that would just be something where you say, we need a virtual space. We need some 5 minutes to set up the meeting. And with the kind of manipulation of data, so most of the production process usually is done by designing things on a computer. So we will have the chance to manipulate data in a virtual world. So with a haptic feedback, that would be perfect. But even without that, it's a tremendous chance to get the things done that will really, and I would like to do this word, disrupt the industry. Because at the moment, it requires a tremendous big company efforts, assets to do this. And small startups, people with just an idea, no longer need facilities to produce stuff, rooms to share. You just meet in a virtual space in the internet and just do your stuff and get things done. And this way even have a tremendous impact on how development teams and design teams in the industry will work in the future.
That's true.
I think that's really interesting because what I feel like is it's going to change who we are as humans, is it?
Yeah, it will be, especially how we approach the tasks ahead. It will be different. We have more options. We have, like he just said, we can do different kind of collaborations. It's easier to connect each other. It's easier to perhaps even put yourself into the position of your consumer you're actually making the product for, and there will be more options overall. And with all those new technologies means mostly more options, robots, everything. It makes it easier.
Come up real quick here, maybe on stage. Or
Oh, a quick idea I had with virtual reality and mind control devices for computers. We can create something like, I don't know if someone here has seen the movie Surrogates. So if someone is, let's say, trained to be in a bed because he cannot move, he can put on the virtual reality glasses and control his surrogate through mind control.
That's a pretty interesting idea. It's scary in a way.
Actually, it's working and it's not new. The first mind controller that I know of was the SIA, and it was done something in the 80s. The interesting thing is that I know it was Tan Lee who presented some 5-6 years ago a first encephalograph who was cost effective, some $300 to $600 roundabout, and is working so that you can actually track patterns. The idea that is usually strange is like, I cannot control everything with my mind. That's not the idea. The idea is to use some mind patterns that can be triggering a certain action together with voice control or gestures so that you have 3 means to control what you really mean. Typical problems in voice control today is that you have noise in the background. So what we see is like, it doesn't work because you have noise overlaying your commands. So you have misinterpretations of your voice commands. Simply combine it with a gesture or with a, let's say, mind pattern, and it's pretty clear what you mean. And this is something where I say we need to think about, we had a keyboard for working with a computer, interacting with a computer for a very long time. Then we had the mouse. With the advent of the mouse, the keyboard didn't vanish. Everybody's still using a keyboard. That is because they're combining things. So usually you have one hand on the keyboard and the other on the mouse, and then you're using both. And this is what I really see, that is what you said about eye tracking, for example. We need multiple technologies that are working together to give this kind of experience and this kind of input.
That's the same I always experience in our museum. Always if we put up a new technology alone, people say, oh, now will this gesture control like the Leap Motion replace my mouse? And I always have to tell them, no, it will be, the goal will be to combine eye tracking, gesture control, AR all together. So you're only doing the commands which are the most efficient with this technology, with it. And the combination will be the goal, really, to keep everything, to make everything more accessible, everything easier to use. If you read a homepage and your eyes come to the bottom of a homepage, it can scroll up automatically. If you, for example, take a ticket machine in a big city, currently they are mostly using touch. In the future, I hope they will more go into gesture controls or eye tracking, because this would as well help the environment to. For me, such a machine is at the end in winter, it's the whole bacteria catapult, more or less, touch, and everyone being sick or I don't know. It's really, it could help a lot as well in problems which come up in big cities, in problem which if you get away from needing to touch something, it means as well there is less maintenance work to do, because the product itself is not so much under stress. It's touchless, so there is no damage done to the object just by continuously putting your hands on it. And stuff like that will have as well a huge impact on how the urban scenarios are going to be with technology and how they improve.
I really like, first of all, the idea we just heard here is like people that cannot move actually getting the new experience of being able to move. Yeah. On the one hand, we can help people. On the other hand, it seems to be helping the hardware in the sense that, well, no one touches it anymore. So, you know, the hardware design as such can be different, there can be new ways. Like, we have about 4 minutes left, so I would really like you to have some concluding remark, and my main question would be, which bigger, maybe really big, but bigger problem of society or business will be solved through virtual reality in the nearer future? What do you think, or what, in a perfect world, which problem could virtual reality solve if you were the ones to decide?
For me, I think it probably would be transportation and the use of resources to move to other places and hop on a plane and be in a meeting in China would probably be much cheaper and not really necessary in the future. And I think that can have a huge environmental impact. And I do hope this technology helps optimize those kinds of movement from people from the physical world to the virtual world.
In my eyes, that's completely true. So the nature will profit from it, hopefully, when no one has to fly to conferences, but kind of put themselves into a chair within the crowd and just watch the slides if they can't make it. On the other hand, I think a very important thing is being able to, I just lost my point. Damn it.
Ronald, jump in there.
Yeah, jump in.
Distance and
Think
time.
about it once.
I think this are two biggest problems that will be solved by virtual reality. Distance, of course, something's far away, it doesn't matter. You can go there with virtual reality. Not only that, you can go to spaces that don't exist. For example, like have experience, go to the Mars. Sit in your room and go to the Mars. What is distance? Distance is not important anymore.
And time, right?
And time, of course, because for example, you said that this was very interesting. What you said with the machine, for example, imagine there's a guy working, for example, at the North Pole, for example, and he has a machine there and it's broken. And the guy has no idea how to fix it. what happens today? He's writing an email or he's calling, and then a few months later he gets a new part. And when we have augmented or virtual reality, he puts some glasses on, and a guy is sitting in whatever, in Berlin or China or whatever, and the guy at the North Pole or the person at the North Pole is watching the machine, and he sees what the other guy is doing, repairing it, and he's just doing the same, and so he can repair it without having an idea what he is really doing. And that's very important. It's distance and time in my eyes.
And now I got it again. It's like getting all informations at once. So the internet was already a huge step forward. So all informations are available everywhere, of course, if you have connection. And the same will be now with virtual and augmented reality with experiences. So people who can't afford to go to a Formula One race, or people who can't afford to travel to Africa, will have now the option, or in the future, the option to do it without such a tremendous costs and effort. And this is kind of, again, very good for just, there will be even more stuff available for you just to consume and grow and get a better picture out of everything. And through that you can decide differently, because you have now experiences to base your decisions on. And stuff like that, I think, is kind of like the internet now is just another world which will be accessible to everybody, even though if you haven't got that much money or so on. So in the future, hopefully all those devices will be affordable for everybody. And with that, there's only the last step, which could be that the content creators want so much money from you to actually be able to experience that. But if this is not that high, it will really allow a much broader knowledge about everything. If you are actually interested in something, you can get all the experiences, all the knowledge about it, and go on like that. So you can personally develop yourself more on what you actually want, instead of what you actually being able because you live in the right city or have enough money to do all the things. It should be, I think it's much more potential for everybody to fulfill what they're actually best in.
Yeah, I think that the aspect, what we said about social, about our society, everybody who ever played a multiplayer online game has this funny experience that you were actually in a game, you're playing together as a team with a lot of people. You never know if this guy's from China, if he's from Russia. You sometimes notice by the dialect, and it doesn't matter. It's not important. And this is something when we say, when we are getting used to work in something like a virtual world, so where actually it just matters what you do, how you can contribute to the project, will bring people closer together and actually make them more think like, I am people, I am human. I'm living on this planet, and it's not so much important like, okay, so you're from France, you're from... It doesn't matter. It's not important. It's actually because you're working on the same task, and this is something that I really like about this idea, because apart from just being able to get this kind of technology, people are able to communicate and realize their dreams or work on projects together as a team. And what I've seen in my work is that global teams, so on the phone is one thing, but if you really meet in person, you really have an idea of whom you're talking to, it's totally different. But there was never a problem about like, okay, you are from China or something. We're all trying to just make it happen, and just work on the same task. And this is bringing people closer together. And this is something I actually see as a positive aspect.
I really like that our talk took the turn to virtual reality, making humans more real in the end and less virtual. And I really like the idea. So what I take away from this discussion is we got the internet, we got the data, we got computing. It became mobile one day, not so long ago, and we really enjoyed that. And the next big step will be we won't have devices as those ones that we need to touch, but it's going to be more us interacting directly with technology through sensors that can read us and our bodies and our minds. Wow, that's exciting. We'll be here again in 5 years discussing the very same topic from a very different point of view.
Perhaps we won't be here, perhaps we are at home and meet you in the
we will not
space.
be physically here.
Perhaps.
That was my point. Thank you very much for having been on this stage.
Thank you.
Have
Thank
great
you
fun.
very much.
And audience, make sure you go visit the loft and visit those wonderful guys and see what they're doing. Thank you very much for coming up here on stage. Thank you, audience. Give a warm hand to the panel. Come on. And we'll quickly rearrange the stage, and then we'll have another really exciting talk on social media and the refugee crisis. So give us 2 minutes to rebuild the stage, and we'll be right back.